All right. Season 4, episode 10. We're pushing along for this season. We have another guest with us today, Brice Avery. We're going to be talking about the things that go on in the world and how you can kind of some coping mechanisms that we can kind of use to kind of help us because the world is getting kind of toxic and we want to be able to stay sane, not insane. So go ahead and introduce yourself, Brice, where you're from and what you do, and then we get into the topic.
Um, my name is Brice Avery. I'm from a small town in Georgia called Covington, Georgia. I've been a fitness consultant for about 27 years now. When I ended my baseball career, that was something that I wanted to get into to help people um, initially lose weight and learn more about fitness and how to cope with the struggles of that. But as I got into it, I learned to see how the mental aspect of that plays a huge role as well.
Yeah. We always have to try to find ways to kind of cope in life because sometimes it's not easy. Living this life, we go through a lot of challenges, you know, um, have to pay, car insurance or rent or gas.
Yeah,
And all that can be a really it could be really burdensome to somebody that's like living paycheck to paycheck.
absolutely.
Um, but we always try to remain optimistic in life and know that things is going to turn around. So just take a little bit before we get into the main topic. Take us a little bit into your journey of like what was your childhood like, and did you go any? I mean, obviously, you probably you know, growing up black is in itself it's really hard sometimes. But
It is. It is.
did you have any
So
challenges
growing,
in
yeah,
your childhood?
yeah. The challenges that I had was growing up in such a huge family. You tend to get lost in the shuffle. Um, I'm one of 16, so and I'm next to last. And so at that point, my parents were much older. I wouldn't say that they had checked out. It's just that I had so many siblings that it was really left up to them to raise me. And so a lot of things in my childhood kind of fell through the cracks, but I'm not going to complain. I had one of the best childhoods that you can possibly ever imagine in that particular situation. My mother and my father constantly told me, we love you, and nothing is going to change that. So I I wouldn't say it's typical to grow up in a household like that because I hear so many different stories of black men and black women saying that, I grew up in a dysfunctional household. I think that every household is dysfunctional in some way. Uh, I'm sure they are not all the same. However, the dysfunction that I had in my childhood was that I am so far down the line on a totem pole that to get recognition or get that, that I guess that internal feeling that you are loved despite all that's going around, it was very hard. Again, I knew my parents loved me. We grew up playing sports, and my father telling me that he loves me was not an issue. He told me that on a daily basis, numerous of times a day. But the one thing that I did not get from him was the fact that anytime I accomplished something, you never got that attaboy or I'm proud of you. And that was a big part of it. So you tend to try harder and harder and harder every single day to get that recognition, that to get that pat on the back, and it never comes. And mentally that plays a huge part of the person you become as you get into adulthood. And so that's one of the things that I absolutely struggle with today. Having a son of my own, um, I don't want him to feel as if I know my daddy loves me, but is he proud of me? Am I doing something to make him proud of me? And that was something that I never got as a child. So it's something that, again, I struggle with on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, I can I can definitely relate. But mine was a little bit more. Verbally abusive and physically abusive with my father.
Okay.
He was not really, cognitively there mentally because his father
Mhm.
threw him out of a two-story window.
Oh wow.
And, I just think to myself how life would be so different if he would have got the help when he was in,
Yes.
early on in his childhood. Maybe
Yes.
talk to a therapist and try to figure out where the dysfunction is, because sometimes, in the previous generation, they just let things go unchecked.
Yeah.
And they
Yeah.
never they never wanted to talk about anything. Don't
Yeah.
tell those folks what's going on in my household.
Yeah.
And I just didn't understand that mentality. But this is a new generation now, and
Yeah.
hopefully the older generation, Gen X, is going to catch on to what some of the things that Generation Y and Generation Z is going to be able to accomplish.
Absolutely.
Sometimes it's not easy to just talk about whatever's going on or whatever happened to you in your childhood, but that
Yeah.
really does play a role into your adulthood. And
Yes, it does. It plays a huge role. I meet so many kids on a day-to-day basis now. In my current role as a trainer, I also do mentoring for kids and sports-specific training for kids as well. And the one big thing that I hear from those kids is that, my parents don't understand me. No one listens to me. And it's those little things. And I hear some parents say, well, I was raised this way, so he should just get it or she should just understand. And that's not the case. And it has made me a better father myself, listening to outside voices of these kids telling me that this is what they're not getting at home. And I tend to try to be a little bit more mindful and give them that, although you can't be there for everybody at the same time and still be an effective father or an effective coach. So I try to do in small doses, to try to help them as best I can. Um, the one thing that I can say is that this generation now are a lot more aware or in tune with who they are as people. And us older generation tend to say, well, that's them being soft or they need to toughen up. Nah, that's not the key. That's not the case. I it's a hard thing to kind of explain, and I get how these kids feel because me trying to explain it to you is hard enough. Now imagine putting yourself in their shoes and how they feel and them trying to relate to you how they feel and what's going on, and you're being dismissive. So they just completely shut down. So one of my I feel as if my calling is to try to help as many kids as I possibly can on a fitness level, to train your mind, to train your body, that no matter what is going on in this world, if you just stay in tune with who you are as a person, do a mental check every single day. How am I feeling? What am I feeling? What are my concerns today? What things that are bothering me today, and how can I overcome them? You don't have to put too much emphasis on it, but I find that a lot of times just a simple workout or just a simple walk will kind of help you clear your mind so that you can hear what some of the things that you need to do to kind of help problem solve the things that you're going through.
yeah, and speaking of that, moving right into the topic of being able to cope with things in life. Obviously, we have a president that's not really good for the nation,
No.
and I just think to myself, how do we get to here? And it's a lot of stress. They say that the economy is doing good, and now we got this new hunter virus going on, and it's like you always feel this unease or unrest in your soul, and you just never know what day to day is going to be. um,
No, no, you
and that's
don't.
why it's important to have a therapist. Like, I speak to my
Yes.
therapist every week. She's always checking up on me if I miss a session.
Yeah.
Actually have a black therapist, and it was a woman, and I Don't know why. I think I just feel more comfortable with black women therapists than a black man therapist, just because maybe I'm still not healed from my childhood trauma, from the things that my father did. So maybe it just makes it more easier and comfortable to talk to a black woman therapist than it is a black male therapist. Maybe there's still some trauma that hasn't, and I know it's still some trauma there. So,
Yeah,
but I'm
yeah,
working on that. I think eventually I will try to transition, but I'm comfortable right now where I'm
yeah.
at.
Okay, yeah. That's the most important thing. I think actually being comfortable and being able to um, open up
Mm,
and deal with some of the things that you're going through is very important. And again, I go back to my kids. They're not going to open up to me if they don't feel comfortable. And we're still those same little boys and those same little girls that if we're not comfortable, we're not going to show a person who we truly are. And
mm,
so you having to be comfortable and be vulnerable in a place where you feel safe is key. That
mm,
is very, very important. You have to be comfortable because if you're not, you're just going to be guarded and you're going to hold everything in and you're truly not going to get healed if you're
mhm,
in a place of just a wall, putting up a wall just to block anything to come through to keep from getting hurt. And
mhm,
that's where the state of the world is right now. And like you said, with the person that we have in office right now, yeah, of course, he's not fit to be where he is.
mhm.
However, he is there. So here's what some of the things that we need to do as a people to get whole. For one, we need to start looking out for each other. That person that you may think about, sometimes a childhood friend or family member or something like that, if that person has come across your mind, is come across your mind for a reason, reach out to that person. Hey, how you doing? I'm just checking in on you, don't want anything, just hoping you're okay. If you need to talk, hit me up. It's just the little things like that that helps people get through the day because they're living day to day. So when we wake up in the morning, the first thing that's on our mind is, oh man, what's going to happen today? You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know if a bomb is going to drop out of the sky, or you don't know what you're going to hear. So you have to protect yourself from the moment you wake up. Speak life over yourself and say, hey, today is going to be a great day. Regardless of what life throws at me, I know I am going to be okay. And again, going to the gym, getting some of those stresses out, it releases endorphins. It gives you a sense of calm, it gives you a sense of peace, but also at the same time it's training your body and it's training your mind. So if anything attacks you throughout that day, and I know I've been in that gym sweating it out and working hard and all that, I can attack whatever life throws at me because I am mentally capable and I am physically able to handle whatever life has to offer, whatever life throws at me.
Yeah, and I also would recommend EMDR for certain people because, like I said, like I'm not fully healed from my childhood trauma, and there's still certain things that trigger me. Um,
Yes.
but I'm going to be starting hopefully a EMR program where they basically help you out to kind of like release all of the bad energy that maybe happened to you in your childhood trauma.
Yeah.
That's something that I'm really interested in about starting, and I would recommend other men that maybe hasn't fully healed to
Yeah.
start that too, because it's everything in the world can trigger you, you know,
Yes. Yes.
and you have to be able to learn how to desensitize or calm the body down when
Yeah.
when you at your sometimes like when you at your breaking point, right?
Yes, yes, absolutely,
And just
absolutely.
whenever.
I agree with you 100% on that. However, I will say the whole desensitizing yourself. I've been that route. It did not go well for me.
Mm,
The problem that we have with desensitizing ourselves is that subconsciously we can desensitize from life itself, and
yeah.
you don't want that. You want to be have empathy and sympathy for others as well as for yourself. You desensitize yourself, you'll start to say, well, I don't need to deal with that. I detach from that. And then
Yeah.
all of a sudden you keep saying that over and over and over again. Now you desensitize to everything that comes into your life. And then when that one problem that comes that you just cannot desensitize yourself from, you're going to react in a negative way. So I teach my son to now don't desensitize yourself to things. Don't just look at it and maul over it. Look at it. Ask yourself, how do I really, really feel about that? Deal with it. Deal with your emotions. I was raised by a father who was a hard man. And he's like, okay, you got to keep going. The world does not care about your problems. The world does not care about your feelings. You need to get up and keep going. There's no jobs. Don't nobody care about that. If there's no jobs, then you create that job. Don't sit there and try to wait for somebody to invite you to their table. You create your own table. And in a way, that was one of the best life lessons that I've ever learned. However, I desensitized myself to how the world accepted me and how the world treated me, to the point where it's just like you're piling it on, piling it on, piling it on. And after a while, that one thing comes and you've reached your limit and you react in a negative way. We have so many of our young brothers and sisters that are in jail right now because they were desensitized. And when they got to that boiling point, to the point where they just can't take no more, they react in a negative way, and then they end up making a mistake that has cost them their entire freedom, their entire life. So I think us being able to attack our problems head on gives us the ability to problem solve in a matter of minutes, a matter of time. When the world throws something at you, you got to be able to take that information, translate it in your mind, and say, all right, I get it. However, here's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to lose it. I'm not going to react in a negative way. I'm just going to take that information and I'm going to flip it. And I'm going to find out how to make that work to my benefit. Problem solving solutions is one of the biggest things that in the Black community that we don't have, because we react first and then we think later.
Mm.
So
You know,
I feel like
you would be really you would be really surprised about the amount of guesses that I come on and I have to kind of lead the conversations, but you really led this conversation. Sometimes I just have to ask a lot of questions to keep it going, but it's like you did the majority of the talking, and that's good. I like that.
I appreciate that. I've never done this before, and to be honest with you, there's so many things that I have that I think about on a day-to-day basis. How can I help my people? Is one of the biggest questions that I've ever asked. In the church that I go to, I try to figure out: do I need to jump into helping people more on this level? How can I help more? And honestly, sitting here talking to you, it's like I would love to do more of this.
Okay.
I would love to reach more of my people, but it's
And
like one of
that's
those.
exactly why I have another group too, where it's called
Yeah,
the our safe space group, and it's for Black men only.
yeah, yeah,
And basically, we have different guests to come in, or we have people that, if you ever want to lead a session to kind of teach some of the other men
yeah,
solutions to the problems that might be existing, we definitely have openings. We have May 31st is another session because we meet every other 2 weeks. We meet every Sunday
okay,
around around 4 o'clock p.m. There's no
okay,
commitment.
yeah,
It's free. I can give you the link and all of that. And basically, it's just a bunch of group of brothers that come together and they talk about some of the problems that might be happening, or we have guests that come in and lead the sessions. If you ever want to lead the sessions, that would be great. We're
I would
always
definitely love to sit in on it first,
oh, yeah, yeah.
and kind of get my feet wet. Public speaking has been my Achilles heel for a very long time, but
Mm.
like I said,
But
doing something like this is something that I feel would be good, but it's like I don't have the money and I don't have the voice, so it's like, why would someone listen to me? So that's one of the things that I wrestle with
Mhm.
daily also. It's like, how can I help my people when no one knows who I am? It seems like every one of these celebrities, they have a voice, but you hear about them saying something stupid that's just completely off the radar and doesn't go, with what our community stands for.
Mhm.
And so it ends up, confusing a lot of us as opposed to helping a lot of us. I look at the Stephen A. Smiths of the world and the things that he
Mhm.
says, and I'm like, come on, man. You've been black your entire life. You know that's not true. Come on, man. So, yeah, so you get a lot of people that tend to pander for money. Money has never moved me. I've been rich and I've been poor. I've been on both sides of the spectrum. Having a lot of money only helps you when you can help others. You know, when you are able to be a steward and say, I'm going to take this money, and yes, I'm gonna live my life. I'm gonna live my life comfortably. I'm gonna have some of the things that I want, but it's only so many cars you can drive. There's only so many houses you can live in. It's so many clothes that you can buy or bags or whatever. What are you doing to give back to your people? What are you doing to help people? Our kids in this community are dying for help, literally dying for help. And we got celebrities that go on and just make stupid comments and put their money in certain places so they don't have to pay taxes on it or whatever. No, take your money and do something really, really good for it, man. So
Yeah. Well,
hopefully
I
one day I'll
appreciate.
get to that point.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate this conversation, but this is all the time we have today. But please know if you ever do want to come back on, if you ever do want to lead a session in our safe space group where it's Black men only, I can send you the link so you can join the group. But there's no there's no money or anything like that. It's just bunch of brothers coming together to help each other in this time of need.
Yeah,
In this time of the economy that's really doing bad right now. And I think you would be, you always, I think you would fit right in because, you have that voice of reasoning and you have a good, clear understanding of what you're saying.
yeah,
And it's going to help the brothers in so many ways. So don't ever feel like, your voice doesn't matter because you don't have to have a PhD in public speaking. Believe me, I took a public speaking class before and I did just fine. Like in the beginning, you're nervous, but once
yes,
you make it humanize it and you walk around on the stage and you really interact with and you really talk to your audience, that's what makes you stand out versus somebody just sitting up there and they're reading a script or they're just talking nonsense.
yeah.
But believe me, you have a lot to offer, brother. So I don't want you to ever feel like you're underestimated or because just talking to you along in these 20 minutes, it blew my mind that, I didn't have to carry the conversation, right? Sometimes I have to carry the conversation and, that's why I like that. But please do, if you ever do want to come back on, I can definitely send you the link to join our group.
Absolutely.
So you can meet the other Black brothers in the group. But we really do take pride in kind of helping people. And if you have any thoughts or any other brothers that would like to come on the show, please send them my way as well too, because we're
Sounds
always
good.
looking for guests. And I'm gonna leave you with this. If you can give one piece of advice to any brother, whether black, white, Chinese, Hispanic, whatever, what would you say to that person if you didn't know them at all? If you can give them one piece of advice.
My advice is to ask yourself a question each and every day that you wake up. How can I be of help to anyone that I come in contact on a daily basis? How can I help that person, even if it's just a smile or a hello? Because you never know what people are going through. And just you speaking to that person or smiling at that person or just being nice and being courteous, having the sympathy and having the empathy for people, do it. And just be a good person, be a good human being.
Yes, I would do. All right, well, I'm gonna let you go here, Brice. But it's been nice talking to you. I'm gonna send that link to join our safe space group, so you can join that, and then we can add you into the group chat, and then you can kind of see every other Sunday where I bring in guests to kind of facilitate the discussion, and the guests talk about any conversation that they want to talk about related to mental health,
Okay.
and you can watch and see it because what I like about it is every guest is different. So
Yeah.
when you're
Mhm.
facilitating a session with the bunch of men, the brothers, black brothers,
Mhm.
you can dictate however you want to lead it.
Okay.
There's no certain way. Like I had a PowerPoint before. I had people, maybe use note cards, or I had people just ask brothers questions, deep questions, back and forth. It's no one way to do it, and so I try not to dictate what people,
Gotcha.
you know,
Okay.
it's however you want to make it work for yourself, however is the best way for you. And you
Okay.
really can meet some cool brothers there, and I think you will really enjoy it.
Sounds
But
good.
if you ever do want to come back on the show itself too, maybe my other co-host, that would be great too. Just let me know. But other than that,
Sounds
you
good. All right. Thank you, man. Have a good one.
bye.
Bye.